Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network, everybody. It's Jesse Weber with my co-host.
Hi, this is Stephanie. Welcome back.
Now, I have to tell you, first of all, great name, Law and Crime. Fantastic.
Love it.
I love it. It's fantastic. So stick around. We do have a big announcement about that later on today. But you are watching the Adam Matos case right now. Big case right now out of Pasco County, Florida. But Stephanie, I am frustrated this morning. Aren't you frustrated by what the defense is doing or the lack thereof?
A little bit, Jesse. I'm a little bit frustrated only because I cannot begin to understand why there has been, I believe there was only one cross done this morning with, I believe, how many witnesses have we had this morning?
We've had at least four, five, six, yeah.
And there has not, there's only been one cross-examination, and I think you brought up a great point, especially with the garbage man. I mean, you want to talk about that a little bit?
That bothers me so much, Stephanie, because here you have a garbage man, okay? He's testifying to the fact that, okay, he used to pick up garbage at the Browns' residence, you know, maybe all the time. They never really had a lot of garbage. Now, so actually, hey, welcome back to the Law and Crime Network, everybody. This is Jesse Weber with my co-host, Stephanie Willis. So again, what I was saying was about this garbage guy.
Right.
This garbage. He said, okay, I used to pick up their garbage all the time. They would have, not a lot of garbage. Now, all of a sudden, they have 10 bags outside of their residence. There's such ample opportunity for the prosecution to jump in and question, well, what's a lot of garbage? Did you always collect the garbage? How do you know they left the garbage out there? Was it all of that Brown's garbage? I mean, there's so much opportunity to do it, and they didn't do it.
No, absolutely. They did not. They did nothing. There was an opportunity, I think, to nail down a little bit more as to what this garbage man was saying. And you were correct in saying, how long had you been there, garbage man? Did you know whether or not they were moving? They had just moved in. What about if they were throwing out things throwing out old items? Maybe they brought in new items into the household. I mean, there could have been such a myriad of questions that could have been asked on cross-examination that the defense really just did not take the opportunity to take.
I mean, you're going to testify to the fact how much garbage they have on one day as opposed to other days. And what about, okay, I have a serious problem with the Papa John's delivery driver. Okay, Jesse Fletcher, the guy just testified, and he said,
has a great name, by the way.
I mean, let me tell you something. He was fine, so I give him approval. He can use my name. But the problem is he testifies to the fact that he knew what the smell of decomposed bodies are. Are you a scientist?
Not only that.
How do you know that? And the defense doesn't jump in?
Does not jump in, and not only that, I don't think he realized what the smell of decomposing bodies was at the time. So how can you say one thing that you just had a smell, you didn't say that it was a smell of decomposing bodies, but yet you come on the stand today and you said, oh no, I know it's decomposing bodies. Well, how do you know? What changed your mind? Who told you? You know, did you have another instance where you smelled decomposing bodies where you know for a fact that that was decomposing bodies? How do we know?
And that's what bothers me. It's the ample opportunity for the defense to tackle something, because Stephanie, we've talked about this before, about the defense's strategy. If they didn't want to put on an opening statement, fine. They want to waive that till the end of the prosecution's case, fine. That's totally fine. But then they have to attack, if they can, every one of those witnesses put forward by the prosecution, every single piece of evidence, question the methods that they were gathered, everything they can, so at the end of the prosecution's case they could say what's left. But literally, they haven't done that much. So begs the question: what are they going to do when the prosecution rests their case, which either could be, today, tomorrow, sometime this week? We know it's going to happen. We're in a quick break right now in the case. But I mean, what are they going to do?
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm hoping, we're all hoping that Adam takes the stand. A lot of people are saying, a lot of our viewers are saying that he's not going to take the stand, or that it would be very horrible if he did, especially since in our Law and Crime Network host, he stated that he has a prior conviction, I believe, out of Pennsylvania. So that is something that would be brought on the stand if he does testify. So, I'm really not too sure what's going to happen, but I would really love to see him take the stand, because he would be the only one to be able to testify as to exactly what happened on that day.
I mean, he has to. I mean, who else would know what happened that night but besides him? And as I said when Dan was hosting, this is a guy who he has to be as prepared for that if he's going to take the stand more than he's ever been prepared for anything in his life, because he not only has to explain away what happened in those few days, how he had nothing to do with it, and explain away any of his behavior, from selling all the items to living at the house to ordering the pizza to anything, to explaining all that away. But then, like as you said, Stephanie, if the prosecution has the chance to question his credibility, or his character is put into question, and they can bring up incidents of his past, he has to explain that away too.
Yep.
You never want to be defendant on the stand. It's not ideal. I mean, where did we just see it? Jeffrey Willis. Did that work out well for him? I don't think so.
Not too well. So, I mean, I have to agree with you. I mean, the only thing that this guy has going for him at this point is the fact that he's rather good looking. And we talked about that earlier with Dan. I mean, we see him.
But without the beard? Without that beard?
I mean, you know, I think that's a choice, a choice that's for each and every person to decide for themselves whether it's the beard or not the beard.
I just hope the jury's not deciding.
You know
they
what?
have bigger issues to decide than that.
I think you're right. I think they have a lot bigger issues that they need to decide upon. An interesting thing, though, is that I did read that, and this is kind of off the subject, but I did read that Tristan is going to be adopted. So I thought that was like a good end of the story, I guess, for him, for the child's sake. So we're not sure as to whom will be adopting him, but I just did think that was a good thing to bring up.
That's interesting, because no matter what the outcome of the case is, he would be adopted.
Yeah.
That's interesting how that would work. You know, I wonder, maybe we should have a family law expert in to talk a little bit more about that, because that's interesting about what the relationship he would still have with Adam Matos, who is his biological father.
Right.
I think that's interesting. I don't know how that would work, but you can only imagine what this young boy, who was 4 years old at the time of this crime, had to go through, allegedly living in that house.
Right.
You know, the pizza delivery guy saw him at one point. And so this little boy who's living in this house with blood all over the place. We saw the testimony from a blood spatter expert last week, blood everywhere, the smell of decomposed bodies.
Right.
Who knows what he may or may not have witnessed also. And I think it's interesting to the fact that there's one thing for anybody to be living in this house, but a young boy, that's what really makes it very cryptic.
A young boy who's autistic.
I know.
I think that's another thing that we should also bring out. I don't think that he'd be able to express himself as other children in his age group would be able to, due to the fact that he does have autism. And so, which leads me to think, which would be great to have like a psychological expert on, or a behavioral expert, maybe I should say, as to how will that affect him later in his life, you know? I mean, obviously he was privy to a lot of things that we do not know of, because of the fact that we don't know what he saw and what he did not see. So I think that's something that, you know, hopefully doesn't affect him in the future. Right.
Let's just recap where we're at right now. We're in a break in the Adam Matos case. I'm here with Stephanie Willis, my co-host for the day. And again, this is now the Law and Crime Network. No more Z, but it's even better. It's bigger, it's better, it's more exciting. We have so much to offer you here. We thank you so much for your continued support here, all of our viewers. The Law and Crime Network is going to deliver even more exciting coverage and analysis here. It's really a big, big day, and we do have an exciting announcement later on today. So a big rebranding here today. We're excited about it. Now, again, Stephanie, we're covering the Adam Matos case. I wonder which testimony are you looking forward to more coming up? I think the one that I haven't seen is Ryan McCann.
Right.
Is that the one you're really looking forward to?
Yes, absolutely. I believe because Ryan was the one that he went out with after the murders. He went to the bar, I believe, where there was some sort of an incident with an older woman. So I think that I'm definitely, and our viewers are definitely looking forward to hearing from Ryan McCann as well. We want to hear exactly what happened after the murders, what they did, what his behavior was like after the murders, because a lot of our viewers at this point are saying that they're looking at his actual actions, the fact that he went to the Winn-Dixie, the fact that he went to the Walmart, as though he was carrying on as though it was a normal day. So I would really like to see his interactions with Ryan at the time to see exactly what happened.
Let's talk about Ryan McCann in a minute. Just to go back to what you said earlier, just an update. We know that right now Tristan, the 4-year-old son, has been adopted by family members, and I believe that Adam Matos has signed away his parental rights. Right. Again, that information can't be brought up in this trial at all, right?
No.
You wouldn't. And what would be the reason? It's not relevant.
I would object to it just because of the relevant, and the fact that as the defense attorney, I'm thinking, well, if the jury is getting notice that he signed away his parental rights, does that lead to the notion that he thinks of some sort of guilt on his part. Well, I'm gonna sign away my parental rights because I don't think that I'm getting out, or I'm gonna sign away my parental rights because ultimately I think I'm gonna get the death penalty. So I mean, that's something that we should take into consideration as well.
It's interesting how we've seen in other trials how the prosecution can put on a witness, and you would think that they're planning the testimony to be really impactful and really hurt the defense's case, which is usually the plan.
Right.
But what happens under cross-examination is somehow that witness actually provides an advantage to the defense. Again, I haven't seen that at all in this case, and I'm wondering, is there any way, based upon the testimony of Ryan McCann, and if I got to tell you something, I'm telling you this right now, if the defense does not cross-examine this guy, I will jump through the screen, break our new beautiful Law and Crime banner, because really, this is a guy who knew Adam Matos, was hanging out with him, went to the bar with him. Is there any way the defense can turn his testimony to the advantage of Adam Matos?
That's a good question. I think that they can. I mean, any great defense attorney can really take any kind of a testimony and turn it to their advantage, no matter what. I mean, that's part of what great cross-examination is, right? So we know that defense attorneys practice to be able to turn testimony to their advantage, as you were just saying.
Right.
So we know that Ryan and Adam had a great relationship. And so I guess some of the questions that maybe the defense attorney might ask based upon the testimony that's elicited from the prosecution is, was there a distinct change in his behavior? Did, from the times that you had seen Adam previously, had he became drunk? Does he have a propensity to drink a lot? Because if he didn't, then that could lead to the fact, well, maybe for the prosecution, that might be able to help the prosecution out a little bit, as to the fact that, well, why are you drinking?
Yeah.
Is there a reason why? And that, of course, will lead to the murders. But if this is something that they did on occasion, or he's not acting any differently than he had in the past, then that might help the defense out.
So in other words, being like, how could you say this guy committed a quadruple homicide when he's hanging out, he's having beers, he's playing pool? This isn't really, you can't say that this guy's a murderer, and a guy who never committed a murder in the past, right? So I thought that was interesting, because we had I interviewed David DiPietro last week, and I asked him about the sloppy nature of this house, like the cleanup. There was so much blood on different items in the house that it looked like a sloppy cleanup, and he said that's evidence that it's not a professional hit. That the people who did the perpetrators of this crime, or the perpetrator of this crime, it doesn't seem like a professional. It seems like someone who did it for the first time, and which would point more towards Adam Matos. But again, somebody who committed this crime and was able to act as if nothing was wrong, that cannot be used by the defense later on for the penalty phase? Remember, this is a death penalty case.
Yeah, we do know that it's a death penalty case. I mean, for him acting as if nothing was wrong, and we know once we move to the death penalty phase, we're looking to mitigating factors that will essentially keep, or want to prevent the jury from issuing out the death penalty. But I don't know. I think that may be a mitigating factor that we could look to. But at that point, he would be convicted, right?
Right. He'd be convicted. I'm curious if it was something like, you can't sentence this guy to death because he's not mentally there. There's something wrong with him. It's not evil that's driving him, but a mental deficiency of some kind. But then that becomes a whole separate issue about insanity and things like that. And I'm not sure how far they want to play that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah,
we'll see as this trial progresses. So what we're going to do now is we're going to throw back to the trial. I believe we're taking a witness on the stand. So stay tuned to the Law and Crime Network.
Good morning, Ms. Mann. If you can step up to where the podium is. Stop right there. Raise your right hand and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. All right. Please have a seat in the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice for me, okay?
It's not very loud.
Okay. You can just sit real close to the microphone. That should take care of it for you, okay? All right, Steve, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Defense, you have a microphone right there in front of you, so make sure I know you're very soft-spoken, so try and speak as much into that as you can. And can you please introduce yourself?
Sharon Han. M-A-N-N.
Okay. And Miss Mann, where do you live? Not the exact address, but what street?
At the time on Hatteras
Hatteras Drive up in Hudson?
in Hudson.
And that was back in August and September 2014?
Yes.
That area?
Yes, sir.
And how far down Hatteras did you live, approximately?
About halfway.
Okay, and Hatteras dead ends into a cul-de-sac?
Yes, sir.
And is it surrounded by a canal?
Yes, sir.
So really, there's only one way other than by water in or out of Hatteras Drive, and that would be up to Old Dixie Highway?
That's correct.
And are you familiar with the house on the corner there on the north side, 7719 Hatteras Drive?
Yes.
Now, I want to turn your attention back to September 3rd, a Wednesday. That morning, what were you doing?
Walking my dog.
And when you walk your dog down Hatteras Drive and by 7719 Hatteras Drive?
Yes, sir.
And as you were walking by 7719 Hatteras Drive, did you notice anything that drew your attention?
There were no dogs outside the side garage door.
Okay, and you're
Yes,
saying
sir.
there were no dogs outside the side garage door?
Yes.
Were you familiar with that house enough to know that there were small dogs associated with
A
it?
small pen. Yes.
Okay. And what else did you notice?
Side door was open. Someone inside.
Okay, let me stop you. I'm gonna walk you through it pretty slowly.
Okay.
And is this would this be the east side of the residence? The side facing Old Dixie Highway?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna display states 54. Do you see 7719 Hatteras Drive over there?
Yes.
Now, you said you saw the door open. You see that door right there?
Door.
Okay. And really, it's the only door on that side of the house.
Uh-huh.
And again, I'm going to show you states 80, 82. Is that a straight-on picture of that door?
Yes.
Okay, so you saw that that door was open and there was someone inside. Can you
Yes.
describe what else you saw?
A garden hose, jet stream, and a broom, and swishing
Now,
out the door.
the person that you saw, where exactly was he? Was he outside? Was he inside? Was he in the doorway?
Inside in the shadows.
Inside in the shadows? And could you get a good look at him because he was inside in the shadows?
Not really.
But it appeared to be a male, approximately 20s to 30s.
Objection leading. Approach.
Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network, everybody. This is Jesse Weber with my co-host Stephanie Willis. So we're seeing the testimony right now of Sharon Mann, a neighbor. Now, I know where this testimony is going.
Right.
This is the woman who appeared to be Adam Matos, trying to clean up that house with a garden hose.
I love how you said appeared to be.
Because she doesn't know. She can't
Right.
positively identify.
And that's
that it's
that's
Adam
really
Matos.
important, right? And so for the defense, what are we thinking? We're hoping.
Oh, you think they're going to cross-examine? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll hope. We'll see if that happens. So we have Ms. Mann who is testifying, and I know that it may be a little bit difficult for some of our viewers to hear what she's saying. So please be sure to tune in because I believe her testimony will be quite important, especially if with the testimony that she's going to provide as to the fact that he may or may not have been swishing something out of the garage. Am I correct? Am I correct?
Yeah, I think so. And again, this is going to be a really ample opportunity for the defense to cross-examine a witness. So it's time. It's time for them to do something.
So we're going to bring you back live into the courtroom. Stay tuned.
Order. And number two, just slow down. There's no speed necessary so that you can get out your whole sentence, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you're probably nervous and you do have a very soft voice, We'll wait for you, okay? So just take your time, all right? But I really need a yes or a no, not a or okay? Thank you, ma'am.
And as best you can, based on the little you saw, what kind of description would you give the individual that you could see in the shadowy area of the doorway?
About your size.
Man or woman?
Dark. It was a man.
Okay. Approximate age, could you tell? Was it an older gentleman? Was it a young teenager?
It wasn't old. It wasn't a young teenager. It was 20s, 30s, evidently.
And it wasn't young, it wasn't old, it was 20s, 30s?
Mid-age.
Okay. And you described the hose. What was the person doing with the hose in the jet stream?
Rinsing the floor.
Rinsing the floor, and was that inside the doorway or outside the doorway?
Inside the doorway.
Okay, and then you described the individual using the broom. What was the
Yes.
person doing with the broom?
Very hard sweeping. Like he was trying to push the water out the door.
Very hard sweeping, like he was trying to push the water out the door?
That's correct.
Okay, and I'm just repeating what you're saying to make sure we can all hear. Now, as you walked by, did that individual do anything different?
Step back into the shadows.
Okay, to make it more difficult for you to see the person? Well,
That was my impression.
that was your impression?
Yes.
So it became more difficult for you to see the person as you passed by and the
Yes.
individual reacted to you?
Yes.
All right, now I want to turn your attention to later that same day, Wednesday, in the afternoon, somewhere around 3 to 4 o'clock, where you're walking your dog, well, rather, were you taking your dog somewhere at that time?
Yes.
Were you going with anybody else?
Yes.
And who are you going with?
Jerry LaManna.
Jerry LaManna, is that another a neighbor of yours?
Yes.
And she has a dog as well?
She trains dogs.
She trains dogs? And where were you guys going? How were you getting there?
A side-by-side vehicle down Old Dixie Drive.
Okay. On a side-by-side vehicle down Old Dixie Highway?
Yes.
Is that like a golf cart type vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Not like a car or a
Right.
truck or something?
Yes.
And you guys were all traveling, you and Miss LaManna and your dogs traveling on this golf cart-esque vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 256. Does that appear to be an aerial photograph of the area of Hatters Drive and Old Dixie Highway?
Yes.
And Judge, at this time, we'd like to admit State's 256 into evidence.
Any objection? No objection. All right, 256 will be in.
All right, and you see 7719 Hatters Drive there with the gold star.
Mm-hmm.
And you said
Yes.
you drove down Old Dixie Highway. Which direction did you go?
This direction.
And you go all the way to where the dead end berm would have been at the
Yes.
time?
Yes.
Is that approximately in the area where that red star is over in the...
Yes.
Okay. And when you got there, what'd you notice?
Lots of vultures and a horrific smell.
Lots of vultures and a horrific smell?
Yes.
Is it a smell that you had ever come across before?
I had not.
And pretty terrible smell?
An awful smell.
Where exactly were you when you could smell it?
20 feet from the berm.
About 20 feet from the berm?
Yes.
Just as you travel down Old Dixie Highway on that,
Yes.
that limestone road at the time?
Yes.
And because of the smell, did you guys stay there for any length of
No.
time?
No.
Had your intention been to let the dogs run around in that area?
Yes, sir.
Did you end up doing that?
No.
Did you just leave?
Yes.
All right, Judge, if I can just have a moment.
You may.
No more questions, Judge.
Fence cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, you may step down. Is she released from her subpoena?
Yes, Judge.
All right, you may, defense, any objection? All right, you're free to go, ma'am. Thank you very much. State, call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would call William Lusk.
Good morning, sir. You'll step right up to the podium. Stop right there, raise your right hand, and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, please have a seat in the witness stand and speak in a loud and clear voice for me. State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Could you please
morning.
turn to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, introduce yourself by stating your name?
Okay, my name is William Lusk, L-U-S-K.
Mr. Lusk, as you sit here today, what part of the, do you live in Pasco County?
I do, I still do, yes.
And what part of the county do you live in today?
I now live in Wesley Chapel.
Back in 2014, what part of the county did you live in?
I lived in Sea Pines in Hudson.
And what was your specific address back in 2014?
I was at 7239 Hatteras Drive in
All right,
Hudson.
let's talk about this area, Sea Pines and Hatteras Drive. It's a residential street.
Yes.
Could you just describe, I guess, the area or the geography around the street?
Okay, Hatteras Drive is one long peninsula. It's surrounded by water, and the only way to get off the street is Old Dixie Highway. So, and I'm at the extreme west end. So I'm closest, on Hatteras Drive, my house is closest to the Gulf of Mexico,
All right.
on the very end.
All right, let's take a second just to talk about your house. Is it a single-story or multiple-story house?
It's a three-story home.
All right, and the master bedroom, what floor is it on?
The master bedroom is up on the third floor.
All right, and so to get from the master bedroom down to any other of the living areas of the house, you'd have to go downstairs?
There's one stairwell and an elevator.
All right. The stairwell, is that what you used
Well,
primarily?
my health is good, so I always took the stairs. The elevator was something I had put in case you have heavy load or.
Right. Okay. And as you go up and down the stairs, is there a window that allows you to see out to the Gulf of Mexico?
There is. I put in as many windows as I could because the view where I am is very nice.
All right.
And so it looks out over my dock and the canal, and the house are directly across the canal to the west.
All right. You have a boat dock that is water accessible?
I do. There's a boat lift and a boat dock, floating dock.
Okay. Did you keep a boat or watercraft on your dock during that time in 2014?
I had a canoe that sat upside down on my dock for probably 7 or 8 years
All right.
that I lived there.
And from time to time, did you use your canoe?
Used it several times a week. I was property manager for a house right across the canal, and so I would, rather than drive around, because it's at least 2 miles to drive by car, I could row across the canal 35 feet in like seconds. So I'd go back and forth by canoe, caring for my neighbor's property.
All right. And so when you would do that, is it safe to say that you would take the canoe from your property to the other house across the canal?
Yes, sir.
And then you'd bring the canoe back?
I would do my chores as property manager periodically and then come back across with the canoe, yeah. And turn it upside down again.
I guess what I'm saying is anytime you use the canoe to go across the canal, you'd always bring it back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to focus your attention to the week of Labor Day 2014. Was there during this period of time a large police or sheriff's presence on Hatteras around the intersection of Hatteras and Old Dixie Highway?
Extremely large presence of police.
Okay.
Yes.
And during this time period, I want to focus your attention towards the end of the week, so the Thursday evening after Labor Day, okay? Right. Do you recall seeing or noticing whether or not your canoe was on your dock as you went up the stairs to your residence?
I didn't notice anything Thursday evening. I went out to a Knights of Columbus meeting probably around 6:30 or so that evening. I remember it being very dark, and I believe it was a rainy evening. And our street light, I'm right on the cul-de-sac, and there's one street light there. Like for the first 100 yards or so, 200 yards, that's the only light.
Okay.
And I believe that light was out for many years.
All right.
And we had tried to get it on in the community, so it was very dark there.
Okay.
So you don't notice anything that's happening on the side of your house or the water at night. You just don't know.
And since we're talking about this area, the Sea Pines area, during this period of time, 2014, were there homes that were vacant due to either foreclosure or people not living in them?
There is, yes.
All right. Would you say more than one?
Yes.
More than two?
Yes.
Okay. Multiple homes in that area that were.
Yeah. That happened with the collapse of the real estate market in Hudson, being a waterfront community. Lots of abandoned homes. It's still that way.
So Thursday night, you go to the Knights of Columbus meeting. You return home. And as you would have gotten up that Friday morning, that Friday after Labor Day, did you notice something as you came down your stairs?
First thing I noticed.
What did you notice?
Because when I come down my stairs, I'm looking out a very tall, wide window, and you looking right out at the water, and my dock is right below me, and I noticed my canoe was on the other side of the canal, about 35 feet away, and I had wondered how it got over there.
All right. Did you take your canoe from your property to the property across the way?
I did not.
During that period of time, again, you've got to explain to this jury, you were the property manager for this residence, correct?
I was, across the canal.
So was there anyone staying or living at the property where you saw your canoe during that period of time?
He was not. I knew he was a resident of New York, and this was his second home, and I knew he was up in New York at the time.
All right.
So.
All right. So you wake up, you see your canoe no longer on your property, but on the property across the water, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Mr. Lusk, I'd like to show you what's been introduced as State's Exhibit 256, okay? I'm going to hold it up right here, and I'm going to ask you to identify, take a second to look at it and identify.
Okay.
All right. Have you orientated yourself to this?
I have, yes.
Okay. Can you just point us where Old Dixie Highway is?
This is Old Dixie right here.
Okay. And do you see Hatteras Drive on here?
This is Hatteras, starts here.
Okay.
This is the east end, and it ends right about here. All the other streets in Sea Pines go out further to the west, and Hatteras ends a little shorter right here.
Okay. Do you see a green star there?
Yeah, that's right in front of my, that's the canal that star is on right in front of my home. My home is the tall 3-story right here.
Okay. And you can kind of see the water back here in the canal out to the Gulf, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's correct.
And just so we're clear, Hatteras has homes on both sides of the street.
It does.
And it's surrounded by water all the way around.
That's right.
Okay.
So once you're out at this end, you're landlocked. The only way out is to come back through this way to Old Dixie.
Okay. And just for another two advantage, so I'm going to show you what's been introduced as State's Exhibits. State's exhibits, hard for me to read, 205 and 255. I'm sorry, 505 and 255.
Okay.
You recognize
This is the floating dock that was just mentioned in my previous statement. When I come down the stairs, this is the ground level view of what I see coming out.
I'm going to put these photographs up on the screen so you can describe it. Do you recognize them?
Yes, sir. This is the house that I was property manager for.
Okay. Let me put it up here so that you can describe it for the jury so they can all see.
It's gonna be up on that screen.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to ask you to look over your right shoulder, and we're going to reference state 505, and just give me a second to focus the photograph. Okay, sir.
All right, that is.
You were describing this area here. This is your floating dock?
Yes, sir. That's my floating dock. That's my backyard. That view is looking straight west. That canal goes straight out to the Gulf of Mexico. It runs east and west. The
What's
blue
this over
house,
here?
that's my neighbor that lives in New York, who was up in New York at the time. And he has a floating dock too, with the boat lift there.
And so this is the house where you saw your canoe out when you came down the stairs on that Friday morning?
Yes, sir. My canoe was tied up that morning on that floating dock, straight over a little bit to the left there.
Okay.
And that's my dock where your finger was.
All right. Now I'm going to show you quickly what is stage 255, and let me just zoom in a little bit here. You were describing that Hatteras is one, it's landlocked. I'm going to
Yes,
zoom
sir.
into.
Okay, that's an aerial view of my home and my backyard.
Is this your home right here?
Yes, sir.
This is your dock,
It is.
and this is where you saw the canoe, correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, sir, so if you know the names of the streets that are over here, you can use them, but my question to you is, if you were to come down these streets, it leads to these separate fingers or canals, correct?
Yes, yeah, the next street over is Mako. I'm higher on the screen. The next one, I'm not sure, it might be Yachtsman. But
Okay.
that's the only street to get out to where my neighbor is across the canal. You've got to go over 2 streets on Old Dixie and then come all the way out.
Okay, but if you can get to this area right here, you can use this road or this little bridge to get access to the main road of Old Dixie Highway.
Correct, but from where I live, if I were to want to walk over there, it's probably about a 2-mile walk,
Okay.
or 1.5 miles anyway. Where by water, it's only 35 feet.
Okay, one moment, Your Honor. All right, sir, thank you. No further questions this time?
State Frost?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, sir, thank you very much. You may step down. State, is he released from his subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection, defense? All right, sir, you are released. Thank you. State, call your next witness.
Laura Maniscalco.
Good morning, ma'am. You want to step up to the podium for me? You want to stop right there, raise your right hand and be sworn by my clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. All right, please have a seat in the witness stand, speak in a loud and clear voice for me, okay? Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Counsel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Laura Maniscalco. I'm the store manager at Circle K.
And would you mind spelling your last name for the court reporter?
Maniscalco.
And which Circle K is it?
State Road 52 in Moon Lake.
How long have you worked for Circle K?
7.5 years.
And you said you're the store manager.
Yes, sir.
What are your duties as store manager?
I basically see the everyday operation of the store. I mean, I do the hiring. I make sure the store is staffed. I take care of just about everything in the store. I do the scheduling, everything.
And what can you tell us about the security cameras in the store at Circle K?
I basically have a view of the whole entire store, from the gas pumps to the back rooms.
So you have multiple cameras?
Yes, sir.
At different angles?
Yes, sir.
And how is the data from those cameras stored?
It's stored on a hard drive on a DVR.
And is that DVR inside your store?
It is. It's inside my office.
And as a store manager, is the surveillance system and the stored video in your care, custody, and control?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall meeting with the Pasco Sheriff's Office in September of 2014?
I do.
And do you recall them asking you about surveillance videos?
I do.
And were you able to pull up the videos they were asking you for?
Yes, sir.
And may I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked for ID as state 612. Can you tell us what that is?
This is the video that I gave to the officer that I reviewed in your office, and I initialed and dated it.
And just a little bit, I'm close to you. I can hear you, but I don't think everyone else can.
This is the disc that I gave to the sheriff's office that I watched in your office, and I initialed and dated.
Okay.
State Deputy 630.
Thank you. I'll change that.
We already have 6 for 'em. So it's going to be, the video is going to be 613.
It is now marked as 613 for identification purposes. And you said you wrote your initials and the date on it when you reviewed this video?
Yes, sir.
And that's how you know what it is?
Yes, sir.
Now, this video, could you tell us what it contains?
You see the front door view. You can also see the cashier view of the front door and behind the cash register area.
And is this surveillance video from September 4th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
And is this disc, does it contain a true and accurate copy of the surveillance video footage that was created in your Circle K?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time we would like to introduce this into evidence at state 613.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, video coming in 613.
Your Honor, would you like to publish?
You may.
Ms. Maniscalco, the video that we're about to watch, are you actually in this video?
No, sir.
So we're going to pull it up on the screen here. Can you see that screen from where you are?
Yes, sir.
Now, the first one is Circle K number 1. And can you tell us, once it starts playing, what we're looking at? It's going to take just a second while it reads the disc.
That's the centralized view of when you first walk into the store.
So is the main entrance, is this the main entrance to the Circle K?
Yes, sir.
Now, just if you look through the front doors, there's a white car, and the door just opened, and there's a gentleman standing there. Is that the front parking lot of the Circle K?
Yes, sir.
And the video is just video, it does not contain audio, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, the man on the far left side of the screen wearing a white, appears to be a white t-shirt Is that where a person stands to purchase something from your store?
Yes, sir.
The register area? And the timestamp here, 9/4/2014, approximately 11:04 p.m. Are your timestamps accurate?
Yes, sir.
Now this next video is labeled Circle K 2. And it's going to take just a second to pop up like the last one. All right. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is the camera view we have behind the transaction area so we can see the people who walk up to the counter and the transactions they're making.
And is this the same time and the same area we just saw, but from a different angle?
Yes, sir.
Judge, we have no further questions.
Cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much. You want
Thank
to
you.
step down?
She may be released.
All right, and you're released from your subpoena. State, call your next witness
Yeah, this would be a good time.
to take lunch.
Yes. The next witness will be a little bit lengthier.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess we're going to take lunch a little early just so we don't have you have lunch really late. So we'll go ahead and have you put away your notes, grab your electronic devices, remind you not to talk about it or tweet or text or blog, and have a nice lunch. We'll see you back in the jury pool room at 1 o'clock, okay? I start putting names on it. They all look alike these days.
Hearing out of the presence of the court, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there anything we need to address before we have lunch?
Judge, I would just note we have 3 to 4 more witnesses for the day. Most of them are very short, so I expect that we're going to finish pretty early, and then we have 6 witnesses for tomorrow. Most of whom, all of whom either could not be here today due to the holidays and whatnot, or we need to testify after some of those people because their testimony is dependent on someone.
Okay. So my question to you, the 3 or 4 witnesses, they'll be ready by 1 o'clock?
Yes, Judge.
All right, and then tomorrow, we'll be able to get in 6 witnesses in the entire day, you think?
Yes, Judge. I think we'll still end up finishing early tomorrow as well, but the witnesses tomorrow are a little bit lengthier.
Okay, no problem. And so we'll be on recess until 1 o'clock, and we'll move along. And when we run out of witnesses, I'm sure the jury will be happy to go home early. So we'll finish whenever, we'll be done whenever you're done. Okay?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Law and Crime Network, everybody. This is Jesse Weber with my co-host, Stephanie Willis.
Hey, Jesse.
So as we are in our lunch break,
Yeah.
final thoughts in this series of witnesses that have not been cross-examined by the defense. What do you make of it?
I just don't know what to say at this point, honestly. I'm hoping maybe it has something to do with their trial strategy that we have no clue as to what's going on at this point. But I can tell you that not only am I fidgeting in my seat, but I know that the viewers are as well. I mean, because we really want to see what's going to happen with this defense.
I mean, the neighbor, William Lusk, with the canoe, okay? Ample opportunity for the defense to come in and say, now remember, for everybody who was watching this, William Lusk is a neighbor of the Browns. He had a canoe on his dock.
Right.
He used it to get to the opposite side of the canal where he managed a property. One day he wakes up in the morning and the canoe is on the opposite side of the canal, doesn't know how it got there.
Right.
And again, it begs the question, because we believe that Adam Matos used that canoe to escape the area and then he was eventually arrested by police. Why didn't the defense come forward and say, isn't it possible that canoe could have moved on its own? Maybe it
Right.
wasn't, you didn't tie it down neat enough or something like that?
Right.
And they didn't do it.
They didn't do that. And then that leads to the question, well, I mean, if he had the sense to get rid of everything else, why not get rid of the canoe as well? I mean, that's kind of like really It's
There's
common
a lot
sense.
There's a lot of questions
Right,
here that we
yeah.
have, and we might get answers, we might not get answers,
Yeah,
but
we'll
it's
see.
been interesting, Stephanie, covering this with you this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been great, and we've been having such a great time this morning with you on the new Law and Crime Network. So we hope that you come back, because we have some great trials for you lined up, right, Jesse?
That sounds good.
All right, well, have a great day. I'm signing off, Stephanie L. Willis for the Law and Crime Network.
I am signing off. What'd you say? Law and Crime?
Law and Crime.
Law and Crime. Still getting used to it. I'm Jesse Weber signing off as well, and Heather Hansen will be joining us.